been working as a dasher for about 2 years now. It's usually pretty boring, just picking up fast food and dropping it off at porches. But there was one night last November that convinced me to stop working shifts after 10 p.m. It was a Tuesday, surprisingly busy for a weeknight. I was trying to hit a weekly bonus, so I accepted an order that popped up for a decent payout, even though the drop-off location was way out in the boonies, about 15 miles outside the city limits. The order was just a single meal from a 24-hour diner, a burger and a milkshake. The drive was fine until I turned off the main highway. The GPS led me down a series of gravel roads that got progressively narrower. There were no streetlights, just the pitch-black woods pressing in on both sides of my headlights. My signal dropped to 1 bar and the GPS started glitching, recalculating the route every few seconds. Finally, it announced, "You have arrived," but there was nothing there. Just a dead-end dirt road with a rusted chain-link gate blocking the way. I rolled down my window. It was dead silent except for the wind in the trees. I checked the delivery instructions. They had been updated. Gate is open. Drive up to the barn. Leave food on the barrel. Against my better judgment, I got out to check the gate. It wasn't locked, just pushed shut. I pushed it open, got back in my car, and drove through. The driveway was long and winding. About a quarter-mile in, my headlights swept across a structure. It wasn't a house, it was a dilapidated barn leaning heavily to one side. There was no main house in sight. I pulled up, keeping the engine running. I saw the rusty metal barrel mentioned in the notes. I grabbed the bag, stepped out, and placed it on the barrel. That's when I noticed something that made my stomach drop. The ground around the barrel was muddy and there were fresh footprints. Not just a few, dozens of them. And they weren't leading to the barn. They were positioned in a circle around the spot where I was standing, as if people had been standing there waiting. A loud thud came from inside the barn, then a scrape, like heavy metal being dragged over concrete. "Hello, DoorDash," I called out, my voice shaking. Silence. Then from the darkness to my left, just outside the range of my headlights, a voice whispered loud and harsh, "Cut the lights." I didn't think. I didn't look. I scrambled back into the driver's seat, slammed the door, and threw the car into reverse. As my headlights swung around, I saw them. 3 distinct figures emerging from the tall grass, wearing dark clothing and what looked like animal masks. One of them was holding something long, a bat or a pipe. I floored it, tires spinning in the mud before finding traction. I sped back down the driveway, risking wrecking my suspension. In the rearview mirror, all I saw was darkness, but I swear I could see flashlights bobbing behind me, chasing the car. I didn't stop until I was back on the main highway and parked at a brilliantly lit gas station. I called the police, but since I wasn't hurt, they just took a report. I never found out who they were or what they wanted, but I know one thing. They didn't order that food to eat it. They ordered it to get someone out there. This happened a few months ago in a new subdivision that was being built on the edge of town. You know, those neighborhoods where half the houses are finished and lived in, and the other half are just wooden frames and concrete foundations? It's creepy enough during the day, but at night it's a ghost town. I picked up a large order of pizzas, 5 large pepperonis. The address led me to the very back of the development, where the paved road ended and turned into packed dirt. The house number was spray painted on a piece of plywood stuck in the ground. The house itself was just a shell. No siding, no windows, just the wooden framing and Tyvek wrap flapping in the breeze. I double-checked the app. Maybe I had the wrong address. I texted the customer. "Hey, I'm at the location, but it looks like a construction site. Is this right?" Almost immediately, I got a reply. "Yes. Working late on the interior. Front door is unlocked. Please bring it to the kitchen. My hands are full." It seemed plausible. Contractors often work late to meet deadlines. I grabbed the thermal bags and walked up the makeshift wooden plank that served as a walkway. The front door was a temporary plywood slab. I pushed it open. Inside, it was pitch black. The smell of sawdust and fresh timber was overwhelming. "Pizza!" I shouted, expecting to hear a power saw or see a work light. Nothing. I took a few steps in, using my phone's flashlight. "Hello? I have the delivery?" "In here," a voice called out. It sounded muffled, coming from the back of the house, maybe the basement. "Just come down, I have the cash." I walked through what would eventually be the living room. My light caught something on the floor. It wasn't construction debris. It was a sleeping bag, and next to it a pile of old dirty clothes and a hunting knife. This wasn't a contractor working late. Someone was squatting here. A bad feeling washed over me. "I can't come down," I yelled. "I'm leaving the pizzas by the stairs." I set the bags down and turned to leave. That's when I heard the footsteps, rapid, heavy thuds coming up the basement stairs. Not the walk of a man carrying tools, but the sprint of someone charging. I bolted. I didn't care about the pizzas or the tip. I ran out the plywood door and nearly tripped over the ramp. As I scrambled to my car, I heard the front door slam open against the frame. I fumbled with my keys, my heart hammering in my throat. I managed to start the car and turn on the headlights. Standing in the doorway of the unfinished house was a man. He was filthy, shirtless, and his eyes were wide, manic. He wasn't holding cash. He was holding a hammer. He just stood there, breathing heavily, watching me. He didn't chase me as I drove away, but the way he smiled as I peeled out still haunts me. I reported it to the app and the cops, but by the time they checked, the squatter was gone. The pizzas, however, were still there, untouched. I work for a local food delivery service in Chicago. The city can be rough, but usually if you stick to the right areas, you're fine. This particular night, I had a delivery to an older apartment complex on the north side. It was a massive brick U-shaped building with a courtyard in the middle. I arrived around 11:30 p.m. The instructions were simple. Buzz number 404, take elevator to 4th floor, leave at door. I walked into the vestibule and pressed 404 on the intercom. Immediate buzz. No, who is it? Just the loud click of the door unlocking. I walked into the lobby. It was dimly lit, smelling of old carpet and boiled cabbage. I pressed the button for the elevator, but nothing happened. A handwritten note taped to the metal said "out of order." Sighing, I headed for the stairs. 4 flights aren't that bad, but the stairwell was claustrophobic. The concrete walls echoed every sound. I made it to the 4th floor, winded, and stepped into the hallway. It was long, with flickering fluorescent lights. I found apartment 404 at the very end of the hall. I placed the Thai food on the mat, took the mandatory photo for the app, and knocked. I waited a few seconds to see if they'd grab it, which I usually do just to be polite. No answer, no sound of movement inside. I turned back to the stairwell. As I let the heavy fire door close behind me, I heard the distinctive click of a door opening in the hallway I just left. Then silence. I started descending the stairs, clip-clop, clip-clop. Someone else had entered the stairwell on the 4th floor. They were walking down behind me. I reached the 3rd floor landing and kept going. The footsteps behind me sped up. They weren't rhythmic anymore, they were skipping steps. I started to walk faster, skipping steps myself. The footsteps above matched my pace instantly. By the time I hit the 2nd floor, I was practically running. The person above was now sprinting, the heavy thuds echoing like gunshots in the tight space. I wasn't going to wait to find out who it was. I flew down the last flight of stairs to the ground floor exit. I grabbed the handle and pushed. It didn't budge. Panic set in. The door was jammed or locked from the outside. The footsteps were on the final flight of stairs just above my head. I could hear heavy, ragged breathing. I looked around frantically. There was another door leading back into the ground floor lobby. I threw my shoulder against it and thank God it opened. I stumbled into the lobby and didn't stop, sprinting out the front door to my car. As I drove away, I looked up at the building. The light in the stairwell window on the ground floor was on. A figure was standing there, pressed against the glass, just watching me leave. 10 minutes later, I got a notification on my phone from the customer. "You forgot the drink. Come back." There was no drink on the order.